Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to the April 8th, 2019 Metropolitan Traffic and Parking Commission. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. I ask for approval of today's agenda. Is there a first? We got a first. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda's been approved. Ask for approval of the minutes of the March 11, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
We have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the consent agenda. Please note that items on the consent agenda will be voted on in a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the Commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the Commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Council Member Allen, I know you and some neighbors are here to talk about item K, which we don't want to remove from the consent agenda, but we would like to hear your comments concerning that, unless some other commissioners want to. Okay. Is that
Mr.
legal?
Chair, I was
Yes.
going to have a few comments. If you don't just, let's pull it from consent if you don't mind.
Okay.
I was going to give an update on that whole roundabout
Okay,
topic and
great.
all that.
Okay, then let's get a motion to remove.
Motion made to remove item K, CD 17.
Okay.
Authorize always stop at 12th Avenue South and Gable Lane.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right, second. All right, thank you, Mr. Knopf, for keeping me straight. Okay, all right. Are there any other items that people have comments about? If not, we'll read the consent agenda and ask for its approval. Item 2019-0011AB001, a request for the abandonment of easements and right-of-way for Alley 126 from Lindsley Avenue southeastward to the dead end at Interstate 40, requested by Catalyst Design Group applicant, the Fuel Tank LLC owner. Item B, 2019M012AB001, a request for the abandonment of a portion of the right-of-way along Maynard Avenue from the end of existing Maynard Avenue pavement southwestern to dead-end right-of-way between 900 Maynard Avenue and the railroad right-of-way. Easement rights to be retained, requested by MC2 Group LLC applicant. Parking regulations, item C, request to remove the loading zone at 175 9th Avenue 9, requested by Metro Public Works. Item D, request to remove the loading zone at 10th Avenue North and Commerce Street, requested by Metro Public Works. Item E, request for residential permit parking on Russell Street from 800 to 900 blocks, requested by Councilmember Withers, who I think is here today. Good afternoon, Councilmember. Item F, request for a valet zone at 231 6th Avenue North, requested by Parking Management Company for the Hermitage Hotel. Item G, request to remove the loading zone at 600 3rd Avenue North, requested by Reddy Brand Packers. Item H, request to remove parking meters D76 and D578 on the north side of West End at 17th Avenue North for an MTA bus stop, requested by the Catalyst Design Group. Traffic regulations, item I, authorized stop signs on Sylvian Drive and Pierce Road and Sylvian Drive and Palmer Avenue, requested by Metro Public Works. And item J, authorize an always stop at Chesapeake Drive and Morewood Drive, requested by a resident. That is the consent agenda as read. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a first.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Item K, authorize an always stop at 12th Avenue South and Gale Lane, requested by Councilmember Sledge. Mr. Knopf, did you want to discuss this?
Yeah, first things, again, from about Councilman Hager, this way. Our monitors aren't working, so if you guys need to see an image or something, just kind of peek around your shoulder. We apologize for that. Okay, Gail at Granny White came up about 2 years ago. The ones that were here of this body, we talked about a signal versus a roundabout versus an always stop. And Council Lady Allen, she'll remember this a lot better than any of us, but she'll tell us the story about how the neighborhood got together and didn't quite want a signal, and we were going to open discussions about a roundabout. I'll say all that just to say we did a study back in November of 2017. It's been that long. And I'll keep it very brief, but an always stop control graded at a level of service F, and it's just like school, A, B, C, D, E, F. So an always stop modeled at a LOS of F, a single lane roundabout modeled out at a level of service B, that's good, and a traffic signal was similar at a B. I just wanted to, this all came about very fast, and I can mail you all this report. It's about a 10-page study of the signal versus roundabout versus always stop. But that's it in a nutshell. The always stop, we can discuss it, but it will cause some backup probably. The volumes, Corbett, do you have that slide for the volumes? That is not accurate. Yeah, those numbers at the top are not, they're not the right numbers. It's about 5,000 per approach on Granny White, about 5,600, and about 1,800 per approach each way on Gale Lane. And now you start looking at the distribution, and you start wondering, is 5,000 per approach going to back up on a single lane road? Maybe not. That's something we can discuss and maybe even just try out before we can put in a roundabout. But I did want you to know how we've modeled the roundabout idea. We got a preliminary estimate for the roundabout at about $350 for construction. When you factor in engineering services and inspection, it's probably going to be about $500,000. Signal's going to be about $250,000. Everything's expensive these days. That's the groundwork before we get to Council Lady about the neighborhood meeting she had years ago and her approach now. And is Councilman Sledge here? I don't see him. But anyway, you want to speak about it, Council Lady?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for your service and for the opportunity to speak. And I have a couple other neighbors that would also like to speak, I think. As Mr. Knopf has explained, we had a neighborhood meeting about this. I have been hearing from neighbors for much longer than 2 years about concerns about how confusing and dangerous they perceive this intersection to be. And I believe that the accident numbers warrant some kind of improvement, although the volume is may not. The accident number is fairly high for this kind of intersection. It's if you're not familiar with that, it's a fairly steep hill on just about all sides, and then there's the berm for the interstate bridge, and visibility is just really not very good. If you're trying to pull out on Gale Lane, you have to stick your nose way out, and sometimes because Granny White is fairly wide at that point, cars will decide that it's a two-lane road, and they'll be trying to go around someone who's turning left. And there was a fairly serious accident this weekend, just to kind of make the point that it would be good for us to go ahead and get something done. We did have an original discussion about putting in a traffic light, and I heard from a lot of neighbors. And so we had a community meeting, and they felt a lot of concern that having a traffic light there would enable cars to go even faster past Sevier Park, where there are now several crosswalks for people to get from the neighborhood into the park. And so as the discussion kind of began to include a roundabout, that got pretty strong consensus from everyone. From a budgeting standpoint, it has been on the capital improvement budget, at least to get the engineering done for the past couple of years, but it's waiting behind a couple of other stoplights that are also important in the neighborhood. So this has been on everyone's radar, so to speak, for a couple of years, but we haven't moved forward with anything that has improved the traffic. And as accidents continue to happen, I think with this last one this weekend, Councilmember Sledge heard from as many people as I did and was eager to at least get something moving. So we are not saying that we think the four-way stop is the final solution to this problem. We just feel like as we wait for the traffic circle to become funded and engineered and designed and installed, we would like to have something that will reduce the number of accidents that are happening there, that will make it safer for people who park on the other side and walk over to the farmer's market every week during the warm weather. So there's a lot of foot traffic happening around there that is not necessarily compatible with the really high speeds that seem right now to come with what feels like a 4-lane road at that point with nothing to slow you down. So we agree that this 4-way stop is probably not the best in terms of moving traffic, and we hope that we can move on to the next B solution as opposed to an F solution quickly from a funding standpoint. But we feel like in the interim, it's important to do something to make it safer and the neighbors to feel like that they are being listened to, that we understand their concerns. So I'll answer any questions or let the neighbors come up.
I noticed Councilmember Sledge
Welcome.
stepped in
All right.
while you were
I don't know.
speaking. So
He's got a new baby, so he's got.
No, I appreciate that. No,
Congratulations.
No uses necessary. Thank you.
Excuse me, Councilman, what's the speed limit through there?
30.
30. I mean, if you believe people drive that. So I was listening to Councilor Allen on the way in. So yes, talking about this being an F solution, I mean, the F solution is people getting hit. And that's what continues to happen. I think we've tried everything we can. Also, if you go a little bit north, we have put, in the last 3 years, we've put rumble strips, another pedestrian crossing that has been marked in that area by Clayton Avenue because of exactly what Councilmember Allen was saying, people crossing the street, especially to go to the farmer's market. Part of that solution we actually had to come up with so the farmer's market could stay because the farmer's market was incurring such security costs for police, off-duty police to do traffic direction, that was the only way we could get it to where the farmer's market was able to be financially secure and continue. So we have tried every low-cost solution we can think of to try to get people to slow down here. I would suggest if we do end up going with a 4-way stop today, if there's an opportunity for additional rumble strips over here, that I think it would be effective. It has been effective at that crossing. I'm just thankful nobody, to my knowledge anyway, has been seriously hurt over here in the time that we've been talking through this, but I don't know if that's going to continue. So that's all I would say is to consider that. And if you do consider this request, if it is approved, I would think too, if we were able to put signs up that are like the big board signs, instead of just the little ones that say new stop, I think that could help too in the short term, just so people would be aware, because this will be a big cultural shift. I mean, people are used to just getting ready to go more than 30 miles an hour down there. But
all right. Thank you. And I know that there are some neighbors that
Correct.
came to speak about this as well. If they'd like to step forward, we'll hear from everyone, and then we'll let the commissioners ask questions. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cynthia Hicks. I'm president of Belmont Hillsborough Neighbors. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak. We basically agree with Councilwoman Allen and Councilman Sledge, and thank them very much for their support on this, because this has been an ongoing issue for all of our neighbors. Traffic calming, as you know, is a big concern citywide. Everyone wants to try to slow down traffic, and it is getting more dangerous. Our neighborhoods, both the 12 South neighborhood and Belmont Hillsborough neighborhoods, are very walkable neighborhoods. We have a lot of people out walking, and that particular intersection is the entrance into Belmont Hillsborough neighborhood, and it is also the entrance into the 12 South neighborhood. Ultimately, we would love to see a really nice roundabout there. It would be a great entrance into the city, into our neighborhoods. We want to see that, but we do understand that it's a very expensive and it's costly. It takes some time to get that. In the interim, because we've had some serious accidents there, and the neighbors are very frustrated with cars speeding, the inability to get across 12 South when you're going down Gale Lane or coming back, We are hopeful that you will approve an always stop in the interim until a roundabout is going to be able to be positioned in that spot. This will be, we think of it as maybe a training tool to help train the drivers to slow down and to stop at that intersection, or at least pay enough attention that when the roundabout actually does get in place, we'll have slowed them down somewhat, and this will give them the opportunity. Our neighbors are very, very concerned about it, and we come to you asking you to please approve this always stop for us. Thank you very much.
And I'm Mark Lopez. I'm also on the Belmont Hillsborough Steering Committee. I serve as a co-chair of the Sidewalks and Streets Committee. I live at 2805 Belmont, and I go down Gale quite often going towards Home Depot or the Kroger, and it is very dangerous getting across there. I've come close to accidents several times because, like has been said, you've got to stick out, and then when you got an opening, you got to really get down on it to get across there, or it's very likely you're going to be hit. And we do look at the number of accidents that have happened there, and we just would like to have something happen as soon as possible and get the roundabout in as soon as that can happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, questions, concerns? Ms. Wood.
Couple of questions. Are there sidewalks on Granny White at Gale? Are there sidewalks?
Just coming across the overpass, there are no sidewalks coming up Gale at that point.
Okay,
Nor are there sidewalks on 12th South at that point.
okay. I'm just thinking, pedestrian safety, that's one of the elements we're supposed to be
I
watching.
think Corby has the Google Earth. I know there are some sidewalks coming up Granny White to Gale, and then there's some going down the south side of Gale.
Over by the park.
Okay.
That's the on that one.
So are the pedestrian areas that we have, the walkways, are they marked? Is there a light? Is there a button people push? I mean,
At this specific intersection, there's a two-way stop right now. If we were to put in an always stop or signal or roundabout, we were going to get pedestrian crossings.
okay. And you'll know this, Chip, does it help to paint on the street, four-way stop coming up? I mean, what's the best way to get people's attention? This is something new.
Well, police department, for one thing, but that's really the only thing that works. You know how it is. They're speeding out there now. You said it. And because of the hill that the council lady mentioned, we're probably going to have to put stop ahead on the pavement. We'll have a stop ahead sign. And in some cases, you can put an overhead red flashing beacon. We'd have to see if people are running it or ignoring it, first of all. We don't want to overkill anticipating people running it, because if we're anticipating people running the stop sign, it's probably not the right type of traffic control. But we can put stop ahead on the pavement and stop ahead signs, and you got to make sure that we got oversized signs you can put out there. They're 36 by 36. They're bigger than your standard size. There are things that you can draw attention to it. At the end of the day, it's the driver. And that's why warranted versus unwarranted, they get accustomed to not having to stop for other people, so they roll through them. And so that's why we start leaning towards this balance thing I always mention, the 50% distribution. Because if you pull up to a stop sign and nobody's ever there, eventually you start not stopping as well as you should. But to answer your question, we will draw attention to the always stop, especially on that hill where the hill crest is.
Any other questions?
I did want to give an update on the plans. The signal is designed. The roundabout is designed as far as concepts go. You probably have that drawing. It would probably still need the full construction design and funding for the roundabout.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I would make a motion for approval of the stop signs.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Chip, just a quick question. there's been comments about additional things besides stop sign. Do we need to put that in the motion, or would that be part of?
No, I mean,
What would you do?
You could mark it as part of the record if you wanted to say, like, it's been noted, she wants some additional notification out there. And it's always nice to have that in the minutes, but we'll do that.
Okay.
Upfront
If we
stuff.
could have the minutes reflect some of the additional comments, that would be helpful. Okay. We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed. Thank you, Councilmember Sledge and Allen, for coming today, and neighbors for coming to speak about this issue of importance to you. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the NFL draft. And is it? Please state your name for the record, and thank you for coming.
Sergeant John.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner,
He was a spectator instead of a commissioner.
I think he's hoping to be drafted.
It's my time. I missed it last time. I wouldn't mind being drafted for the league minimum. I don't even have to do anything. Sit on the bench, polish it, whatever. I'll do that. I'm the, I work police special events. I write all the traffic plans for the police department and a lot of the security plans as well for our special events. Dealing with the draft, all you're going to see right now, they go through so many phases when they give their presentations, but basically all that's going to be blocked until the week of the draft is what is right now, that Broadway 1st to 2nd, and then 1st from Demonbreun to Church Street. And that's while they're building all of the structures that are be inside that area. So the next big bump out will be the 24th. It's actually the night of the 23rd, which is that Tuesday night, into midnight, the 24th. At midnight is when we'll start shutting all the other streets down that you see in the blue, the light blue and the purple. Basically, it'll be Broadway from 5th all the way into 2nd, because 2nd to 1st is already blocked. And then the side streets from Demonbreun to Commerce Street on 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. We've never done this before. It's going to be very difficult. Don't blame me for what the footprint is. I don't make the footprint. I'm just the guy they say, okay, make traffic work around this footprint. On Commerce, and this was something that I did push for. They wanted all of Commerce. We gave them half of Commerce. The north 2 lanes, which are the westbound lanes, will become a 2-way street. We'll accomplish that with cones and temporary signage that we'll put up. So Commerce will run from 2nd to 4th as a 2-way street. It'll just be 1 lane in each direction. And then from 4th to 8th, we should have all of the regular lanes. Even some of the construction lanes will get back between 5th and 6th to run traffic there. 4th Avenue is closed. It will be open for the morning rush hours, which I know that doesn't help us a ton, but we are going to have it open for that. But for the evening rush hours, that'll be during the event. So on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evening rush hour, it'll be closed between Commerce and Demonbreun, except for local traffic. So 4th Avenue between Commerce and Ryman Alley will be a 2-way street. Again, we'll accomplish that with cones and signage. That way Ryman, SunTrust, and AT&T can access their properties. So we'll have signs that say local traffic only, and then it'll be pretty obvious which lane is right, which one is left, and they'll go in and out that direction. We'll have officers 24/7 on these posts to direct traffic. So it's not one of those where the event happens, we come in, and then we leave. We're going to be there 24/7 starting Tuesday night. Rush hour traffic for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will come down 4th. We will turn 2 lanes right on the Commerce. We will turn 2 lanes left on the 5th and bring them all the way down to Demonbreun, and we'll turn 2 lanes again left on Demonbreun, 2 lanes right on the 4th, just snaking around the event. 5th Avenue will not have a valet at the Palm. They will not have a taxi lane. It's going to be 1 lane northbound, 2 lanes southbound. So it becomes basically 4th Avenue. So that's how we plan on getting the traffic. I like to tell people, don't have unrealistic expectations. It will move much slower than what we have normally because you have 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and 4th Avenue traffic now all the way pushed over to 5th. Hopefully people will seek alternative means other than coming through downtown. But we don't plan on everybody doing that because just from past experience, it doesn't happen. 2nd Avenue between Tumumbrian and Korean Veterans will be a two-way street as well. They have 3 lanes there. 1 lane will be a loading zone lane for those buildings that are in between there. And then the center lane will be in, and the westernmost lane will be out. Again, that'll be made up with cones and signage to indicate that. There'll be cones and signage as well on 5th Avenue between Tumumbrian and Commerce to indicate which lanes are south, which lane is north. If we feel we have to reverse that and give 2 lanes north during the morning rush hour, we're prepared to do it with signage. We'll have it already made up. All we'll have to do is flip signs around, and the officers will make 2 lanes north in the morning. I don't think we'll have to do that, but if we have to, we're prepared to do it. We have lots of loading zones for people getting dropped off. We expect a whole lot of drop-off between shuttles, buses like Gray Line, and other companies bringing people in, tour buses, Uber, Lyft, those type things. So Korean Veterans from First to the roundabout, all the cutouts will be pickup drop-off. Broadway from 8th to 5th coming inbound will be pickup drop-off on Commerce between 4th and 5th next to the Sundress building, pickup drop-off. And then on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, just north of Commerce, those pickup and drop-off as well. So that's the bulk of it. We have some stuff on the stadium side because the experience is on that side, but it's mostly your regular stadium closures like Titans Way, Victory, and 2nd Avenue, just like it would be for a Titans game. Of course, we're not going to shut anything down. We're just going to operate the traffic lights on that side. We expect very busy rush hours, especially on Thursday and Friday when we have the crowds and the rush hour at the same time. We feel our peak hours of traffic will be between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. And it will be very heavy, especially the 3 to 7. We also have the marathon on Saturday, so we have the packet pickup and expo at the MCC on Friday, which is always busy from 3 to 7. We staff Korean Veterans for that every year. The CVC is getting some shuttle locations where people can park a satellite location and be shuttled in, so we're still finalizing the plans on where those shuttles will pick up and drop off, but we're going to encourage as many people as possible to shuttle in. Because the traffic will be so heavy. We will have officers staffing Korean Vets to Church Street, 8th to the river, except for what's in the closure, of course, 24/7.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I was just curious what's happening to the buses that are running on 4th.
The buses running down 4th will run down 5th.
Okay.
So they'll take that curve too. They haven't told me where they're going to put their bus stops yet. We haven't talked about it. Of course, they won't be able to put any between Broadway and Church. Broadway and Commerce because of the construction. They'll probably have to be further down between Broadway and Tumumbrian. But they haven't told me.
And is the pedestrian bridge open?
The pedestrian bridge will be open to pedestrian traffic, but not to scooters and bicycles, just because, and that's just during activation hours. When it's not activation hours, we won't have anybody there to stop them, so they'll be able to come across. Our concern was the speed of the bikes and the scooters and the number of pedestrians that will be on the bridge. We expect very heavy traffic on the pedestrian bridge.
Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, and we wish you the best.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
I'll need it.
Okay.
Nora, there is potentially one closure of the
Excuse me,
$60
if you could identify who you are, please.
Gordon Richard, I'm the Assistant Director of the Mayor's Office of Film and Special Events, and I work out of the Public Works Department, but my office is at the Mayor's office. There is potentially one closure of the Siegenthaler Bridge for an overnight install of the NFL Shield on the bridge, and it's going to be either the 21st or the 22nd of April from 12:01 a.m. to hopefully be completed by 8 a.m. And right now, that is and I don't have confirmation on the dates or the exact time yet, but they think that they can install it in an 8-hour time frame, but they need to close the bridge entirely to safely install the shield.
Thank you
That's it.
very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you coming today.
Yep.
Anything else? All right. Thank you. Ms. Costonis, you are going to update us concerning item number 2, please. Special called meeting of the Traffic and Parking Commission.
Yeah, could you go to that slide? Here. Oh, you got it? Thank you. That's it. So I wanted to give y'all an update on the traffic and parking, on-street parking modernization project that y'all addressed last month. And what you see on screen is the current schedule for implementation of the solicitation. As you can see, it's a pretty tight schedule, pretty aggressive. It is intended to still get this done before the end of the fiscal year. And despite the fact that we sort of had to start over with the solicitation, the first few dates have passed on this schedule have passed successfully. You can see today is actually on the schedule. We're responding to some questions from the proposers. So, like I said, so far, according to this deadline, these deadlines, we seem to be hitting them. The action taken by the Traffic and Parking Commission last month has been something that we've been trying to get out to the proposers. So that was very helpful, and it's something that's being put online and made accessible so that they can take that into consideration in making their offers to Metro. And if you all have any questions, I'm happy to try to update. We don't need you to take any action today, except as the agenda suggests, we anticipate that there will be a need for a special called meeting, the timing of which will be pretty specifically needed to be on April 29th, if at all possible. As you can see from the schedule, our goal is to have the contract fully negotiated and signed by the awardee on the 29th. And we then want to file the legislation to be on first reading with the Metropolitan Council in the first meeting in May. So like literally it's almost down to that exact day, so that we hope you all have availability and could consider scheduling a special call meeting on that day.
Thank you. Questions?
I just have one question, or to start off with, is there any time for public comment?
So certainly I would imagine both the meeting on the 29th, you all would have an opportunity to make public comment a part of that if you were interested. The council schedule actually allows 4 readings in case there's a deferral, because this is a big, complex agreement, and we anticipate that people might need time to get into it a little bit. So certainly there will be opportunities for discussion in the context of that too. I think there probably would be like a joint meeting of council committees of some kind. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking if there's going to be any opportunity for the public outside of us as commissioners or council members to.
Do you mean like written comment?
Any sort of public comment for the public to
Like,
have.
for example, I think maybe if there was the mayor's office had to have a public meeting to solicit comments.
Yeah, I was just
something
curious.
Like that, I guess.
Transit Now sent us an email earlier encouraging opportunity for the public to have some
We
input,
did
so.
see that Transit Now email that was forwarded to the group working on the solicitation. So, I mean, I think anything like that is very welcome and would be considered. I don't know of a specific public meeting that's planned to be scheduled other than your potential meeting if you do the specially called meeting and the council meetings.
So if we have this meeting on the 29th, since we're already getting a lot of feedback from the public, would there be a chance for people to ask someone in finance about the money, where the money's going or where it's going in the budget, how it was awarded? We're already being contacted a lot for this, and I expect more. Has the council already had 2 readings on this?
No, it hasn't been filed with council yet.
So if you're saying on the 18th, the Metro Council gives final approval to that, so it would be...
June 18th,
I'm sorry,
yes.
June 18th, so
Yes.
that's June
So-
18th, so it's 2 meetings
So
before
June
that.
18th would be the 3rd reading, yes.
Okay, so when would you anticipate the first reading?
The first meeting in May,
Okay.
which I'm sorry, I can look
Okay.
and see that exact date. Hang on just a second. I didn't have that in front of me.
That'd be good to just add in here.
So
we
that
know.
looks like that would be June 4th.
May 4th?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at June. You're right, May 7th, my mistake.
All right,
June on the brain.
question, do you have some idea, maybe even just conceptually, what would the commission be asked to do on the 29th
So we
of
hoped.
April, if that's
Yeah.
when we have our special meeting?
So there would be quite a lot for you all to do. It would be a little bit of an echo of what you did in March, but first doing a approval of the agreement itself. So that would be you making a recommendation to the Metropolitan Council as to whether or not to approve the agreement. Then, in addition to that, the things in concept that we talked about at the March meeting would be more concrete. We would actually have drafted legislation ready to be filed that you would all have a chance to look at. And again, it would be a question of recommending it to the Metropolitan Council. And then there may also be 1 or 2 things that you all need to adopt yourselves under your authority as the Traffic and Parking Commission, the things that you can do under the charter without further council action being required.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Commissioner Williams.
When would we get that agreement to review?
So as you can see, we have this very tight schedule, and you can see that we are actually actively in negotiations between the 24th and the 29th of April. And so the way we have structured it, though, we've put a lot of work into the agreement on the front end. And the things that we're doing right now are designed to kind of refine that contract as much as possible, as early in the process as possible, so that the changes to be made more last minute will not be as significant. So while we may not be able to give you a week or 10 days in advance of the meeting the exact contract that will be before you on the 29th, we anticipate that it will be very close and that a lot of the changes will be small. And we can certainly specifically explain those to you at that meeting. So you will have seen basically at an earlier stage, like in advance of the meeting, like we usually try to get you the information that you need to consider beforehand with enough time for you to review it. We will try to do that in this situation as well, but just understand that it'll kind of be in the substantial form of the agreement that will go before council and before you for approval on the 29th, but that there may be a few tweaks in the negotiation process. But we are trying to, by April 12th, the respondents are supposed to get their comprehensive red lines in to the proposed parking agreement. And then we are having immediately thereafter discussions with them, and then requiring by the 22nd final submissions from them. So we're trying to pin them down and nail them down much earlier than the deadlines, much earlier than the 29th. So we should be able to have the pretty much final version of the contract before we enter the negotiations, and hopefully the negotiations will just be refining a few details.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
How many response have we got already? Any?
Yes.
How many?
I know we have several. I want to say 4 or 5, but I'm not sure how much I can talk about in the procurement process is closed at this stage under the state law. And so we can't kind of discuss that substantively. But yes, we have multiple and serious proposers
And
engaged.
will we get background on them as to where they have put in this type of development in other cities?
So we won't be able to, under the state law about the procurement process, we won't be able to reveal the information about the proposers until after the intent to award, which should be on April 23rd. So we, at that point in time, all of the information about all of the proposers that we have received will become public information, but up until that time, we can't talk about it.
Okay. Why? Why is that? State law?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
So, I'm kind of follow up on Ms. Williams' question. So what kind of information will commissioners have prior to the meeting so that we will have information to review to make an informed, intelligent decision about what we're going to be asked to do?
So you would certainly have a draft of the agreement that's kind of in the substantial form of, basically you should have a draft of everything that you're going to consider, and to the extent there are any like tweaks and changes between the date of you getting those draft documents and the date you actually have to approve them, you know, we can walk you through those changes during the meeting itself. So
We would have that, on or about the 23rd of April?
I think that's fairly reasonable, yeah, that we would try to shoot for that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sort of, you know, this is a large group of people who are engaged in working in this, including outside counsel from a couple of large law firms, and, you know, our finance department, our consultants. So, you know, I can't, like, and I'm not sure I have the authorities to speak for everyone. I think Brian Kelsey maybe had a conflict, and so he just kind of asked me, knowing that I was familiar with this project, to kind of give y'all an update, knowing that you would be interested as significant action as it's being requested from y'all. So I can't like make promises that are binding, but I think that sounds reasonable to me based on everything else that.
And when will we know that we're going to have a meeting on, let's say, April 29th? Is that something we know today, or is that something we're not going to know until?
I was hoping that you would actually take action on that today and decide to do that. But in terms of scheduling, I will throw it over to traffic and parking staff.
Okay, so that's so that's good to know that there's an action request. Okay. Mr. Knopf, and then we'll go to Commissioner Woods.
Yeah, and first of all, we appreciate you considering meeting off schedule. The 29th, I believe, is a Monday, 2 weeks from today, 3 weeks from today. It's very important we have a quorum, so if you can't make it, tell us soon. But today, I guess we need to take action on scheduling a meeting. Is that an action item?
Well, if you're specially setting it, I didn't actually look this up beforehand. I don't know if your chair has unilateral authority to schedule a specially set meeting. Sometimes that is the case, in which case it wouldn't actually require a vote of the commission, but this might just be kind of an opportunity to you know, kind of get a feel for the commission if they can do that date, and also us talking about it in this public context certainly helps get the word out there to anyone interested that they might want to come out on April 29th.
All right, well, I would prefer not to act unilaterally. And so I'd like to see if the 29th of April, would you be able to meet at 3 o'clock, our usual time?
Well,
or is there another conflict?
There's a little bit of confusion. Oh, yeah, the 29th is fine with us. There's a little bit of confusion on where. Right now, we're trying to schedule this room, and it says Public Works on the reservation, but nobody knows who reserved it. So we think the 29th at 3 o'clock right here.
Okay. So, to me, I think in the interest of being fully disclosed to the public about our intent, to me, it would make sense to, since we're discussing a special meeting, to go ahead and set a date. And if that works with commissioners, I'd like to see if we could go ahead and get a motion to approve that.
I make a motion that we have a specially called meeting on the 29th at 3 o'clock.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So if,
I have a question.
okay,
Can we accommodate in this room if we have a big public turnout?
Yeah,
Ain't no screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, parking out here, I mean, I know we can
Ain't nothing to do
carpool,
about that.
right.
okay. Okay. So,
And
that's when Nora's supposed to say,
ride a bus.
That's right.
All right.
Scooters.
I can walk.
Ms. Costones, should we go ahead and post to our website that we are planning to have a meeting on the 29th to discuss parking modernization?
Yeah, I would certainly encourage posting as early
Okay.
as possible. It's always
And-
good to get the public notice out there.
All right, and I think we should encourage that we will take public comments that day.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like maybe I failed to completely respond to an earlier comment. Like I said, I can't speak for everyone, but I would imagine that, the lawyers and consultants who are involved in this project, as well as the Metro employees from the various departments will be, at your disposal to answer questions.
Ms. Williams?
I do want to make a comment that this decision weighs heavily on me because it has such long-term repercussions, and, it's not something that's just going to be a stop sign that can be taken out or added in or whatever. So I feel like the last meeting that we had, that I was not personally prepared knowledge-wise to really offer the vote that I did offer, and I just want to make sure that moving forward that we do have all of the information that we really need to make a qualified decision for this.
All right, so Ms. Costones' question is, to stay compliant with state law on the RFQ, is there information that could be made available to commissioners even prior to, on or about April 23rd, information that would be helpful in making an informed decision?
Certainly, there's the solicitation itself, which
Okay.
includes a draft contract attached to it. There's the memo from the mayor's office that was made available to y'all prior to the March meeting. And there are probably other documents as well, but yes, I mean, there is a lot of information that is not protected by the procurement process that is public and out there. And what we can do is maybe just work with staff to try to, make that available in a public way.
All right. I
I
would,
mean, it is probably already posted publicly, but to make it more conveniently accessible for
right.
you.
I'd like to make a request, and I think my fellow commissioners will support me, if prior to the end of the week, if we could gather up this information and have an email distribution to all members of the commission, I think that would be very helpful.
and the mayor sent over a memo that you have a hard copy in front of you. I'll send that electronically.
Okay.
And there's also a PowerPoint hard copy in front of you.
I think
Right.
this is what was discussed
Right.
at last
Yeah.
month's meeting. So if we could get that information, distribute the RFQ, and if there's any other additional information that keeps us compliant with the law.
There are some significantly large attachments to the RFQ, so it's more of a question of how much you really
Okay.
want, probably.
Okay. So,
So it's my understanding we're not going to have very many days to read that before the 29th. So if we get questions about what it says and we don't know, so we refer them to you, to staff, I mean.
Yes, you do have to, as always, be careful not to deliberate in anticipation of a public meeting with each other, but you can contact me, you can contact Chip, Diane, any of the Public Works staff. absolutely, that is fine with any questions that you individually may have about the
And as far
project.
as questions that we're already getting from the public, those should go to Chip, Diane, I mean,
It kind of depends. If
Counsel, what?
it's a big picture question, it probably should go through Metro Legal and Mr. Kelsey. If it's,
okay.
Brian
if it's
Kelsey
a-
is the executive lead on the project
Right.
for Metro.
All right, so if before the end of the week, we get some additional information distributed to commissioners, which would allow them to get some background research prior to the submission of a draft contract. then
Yeah, and so there is already a draft contract that is attached to the
Okay.
solicitation.
All right.
And like I said, we do anticipate in the short, immediate term, some changes to that draft as we get the responses in from the respondents on the April 12th deadline. And some of the discussion that follows immediately thereafter.
Okay.
But we think by the 22nd, that's when their final submissions are required to be in. And then we're going to make the intent to award immediately thereafter on the 23rd, or the purchasing agent will. And so that's the schedule. That's what the schedule currently says anyway.
So Ms. Williams, would getting some of this other information be helpful? And fellow commissioners, because to me, it's very important that, considering the tight deadline, that we have information to make an informed decision.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right. I know we have another item on the agenda. Summary update of downtown bikeway planning, metro planning, and public works. Is that you, Mr. Hampton?
Can we ask one other thing first before Mr. Hammond speaks? We've got the request for the 100 parking spaces.
Oh, yes, sorry about that.
Courthouse garage.
I missed that one.
It's okay.
Request for 100 parking spaces to Metro Courthouse for the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Move to approve.
We have a first. Is there a second? First and a second. All in favor? It's been approved. Okay. Mr. Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good afternoon to you. I will be brief, but I did just want to take this opportunity to update you on a joint effort between our Department of Public Works and Metro Planning Department. My colleague from Planning, Michael Briggs, is here as well. And I'm sensing a theme here with the last couple of items all related to downtown. It's obviously a very dynamic place, which we're all very happy about, but it does present some challenges for us. And one of the things that we are working together on addressing is some of the street issues relative to the limited space that we have downtown. Of course, in addition to traffic, which is a key component of the streets, downtown has some very unique loading and parking challenges. Add to that, it is a critical location, I guess I should say the most critical location for many of our transportation networks, transit, for example, as well as our bikeway program that we are trying to expand. They all converge on downtown and so many of the destinations there that we're trying to reach. Add to that additional demands that seem like they're coming all the time, and in some cases almost overnight, with scooter demands, other slow-moving vehicles. We're working to address all of those types of things that all vying for that precious curb-to-curb width on our downtown streets. So working in that environment, we're working with planning and have established a downtown steering committee, primarily to look at loading and parking impacts, primarily loading, I guess I would say, and how it is relative, in relative proximity to downtown businesses. This did have its origins in a bikeway/scooter project. We continue to look towards those needs, but we have really shifted to address more of the loading question in the immediate future. So just so that you're aware, in case people have questions or talk to you about it, that is what we're working with that steering committee on. We've had one meeting to this point. That was on the 28th of March. We're looking to schedule additional meetings, as well as we're working with individual property owners, talking with them about their loading needs, where their loading zones are now, and how we will address changes and additional demands to those in the time ahead. I think that's all I have to say. We do have a website that's out there, and we're going to continue to talk about the website. There is a survey as part of that. That website is downtownbikeways.nashville.gov. So that's out there, and feel free to peruse that and send folks to that. And if you have any questions, myself or Mr. Briggs would be glad to answer those at this time.
Questions? Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Ms.
Of
Williams.
course, Nora is way more informed about this, but, I do want to make sure that we do understand what happens with this, with the contract that's getting ready to be met with by Metro Council in June with the and with transit concerns that are coming up. It's really almost overwhelming, all the decisions that are coming having to do with transportation downtown and some of these things that are coming. So do you have any kind of schedule for when the next meeting is going to be with this?
We have not set that up yet. And we don't really have any changes, a time frame on any of the changes. At this point, it's a little bit open-ended. I mean, our work up until now is, and continuing, is discussions, is talking. We are doing some data collection, looking at loading needs and traffic and pedestrian volumes and that sort of thing, but we don't have any other time frame on that. We have worked with Mr. Kelsey and the mayor's office, and as they've put this RFP together, they know of our needs and our desires for additional improvements into downtown. They've done the same with WeGo and what some of their future planning needs are for as far as that curb space goes. It's precious space. We're all vying for it, and I think we're doing as good a job as we can in coordinating with each other so that all of the arms of Metro knows the objectives of all of the departments, and so we're working through that process.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would just like to add a comment that I do think this is one of the most important projects, definitely in biking, but I think as a pedestrian advocate, making sure that we have places for scooters that are not on sidewalks is really a critical and very time-sensitive concern. And so I definitely want to thank all the departments for their commitment to making sure that we move forward on these plans, because we have been talking about them for 3 years or more for some of them. And so things like the NFL draft, where we are not going to be able to drive, I think really highlight how important it is to give people options to move around town that don't involve having to drive in your car. So hopefully we can keep moving forward on all of those.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Appreciate it. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
We have a first, a second. Second. All in favor, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. See you on the 29th.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.